Yeah. Yes. Hello everyone. Hello. You start sharing the live stream. Share in all other Facebook groups or pages. Share to your accounts. There are some very important issues that I'd like to share with you briefly now before I go for some other things. Hoping that you're doing good. Yeah, you keep sharing. You share the live stream, share to other Facebook groups, share to your accounts and your pages. Yeah, you share, sharing, you tag people, tag comrades, tag colleagues to come and join in the live stream. Yeah, you tag in colleagues, tag in comrades, share to other groups, share to your accounts and your pages. I have something very important that I'd like to share with you today, briefly, before I go for other things. Hoping that you guys are doing well wherever you are. Yeah, musharinge. Yeah, you share to your accounts, your Facebook pages and groups, tagging friends to come and join the live stream. We have some very important things to discuss, especially today, in regards to the status quo. Yes. How are you? How have you been? How is everything? How is life? Are you doing well? How is COVID era or COVID, life in COVID lockdown or in COVID pandemic taking you wherever you are? Yeah, hoping that you are doing okay. Yeah, I have two things, like majorly two things. One is, by the way, that I think I should share with you. I don't know if many of you have been following international, let me say, blogs from international medias, like, some of the professionals or expatriates in issues of the space science. Yeah, there's something called the coronal mass ejection. Somebody should also go and do research and read about. It's called coronal mass ejection, whereby when the sun gets annoyed or get angered, it can release some of its particle or eject some of its subatomic particles to the surface of the earth. When it ejects some of its atomic particle to the surface of the earth, it causes serious destructions. It has some backfires. One, it happened in 1957 when, around 1957, I remember, yeah, something like that. The sun, there was what I call coronal mass ejection. Coronal mass ejection is when the sun gets angry, like sun or musana. The sun gets angry. When it gets angry, what it does, it ejects some of its atomic subparticles, like towards the earth. If you go and see the orbit, how the orbits operate, like the way the sun, the earth and other planets run around the sun and all that stuff, you'll understand what I'm meaning. So when the sun gets annoyed or gets angered, it ejects some of its subatomic particles towards the surface of the earth or towards the earth. Now, when it comes, it has a lot of impact. One, it happened in 1957. By then, there was no much electricity. People used to use lamp. People used to use these candles or these torches and all that stuff. But in 1957, when it happened, I think it destroyed all the network there was this thing here. What do we call it? This telegram. Is it telegram? Something like that. We did not have much electricity, or we did not have, like a network or SIM card or whatever we use right now. So when that happens, it is very bad, by the way. It causes a lot of destruction, and we cannot have power for even 16 months. We will not have power for 16 months. We will not have communication. We will not communicate for even 15 months. It will be impossible for us to do that for over 15 months or even more. if at all coronal mass ejection happens. So we need to pray for our world. You know, there are some more worse things on earth here than COVID-19 pandemic. We've not seen, and we've just heard of them. But if they are to happen, it will affect humanity more than anything ever. So I still tell you that there are worse things on earth than COVID-19 that we need to pray it doesn't happen. Oh, they don't happen because they're bad and they can cause something that will remain to regret for the rest of our lifetimes as humanity. So this is something, by the way, but I've been reading about it and been doing some research. But I believe also if I share with you the information like this, you can also go and get time and read. You can just go to Google. If you go to Google or to YouTube, you first type coronal mass ejection, coronal mass ejection, something like this. You can type something like this, something like it's called coronal mass ejection. This is what it is. It is called coronal mass ejection. I believe you are reading it. So something like that. You can go and research about it and you'll learn more about what it can do or its implication in regards to what we call the well-being of human beings. So that is one. Anyway, coming back to issues of my discussion today will be around issues of education in Uganda, education in Africa, or education elsewhere. But I will talk in the context of Uganda, basing on how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected the education sector. And now, right now, we have over 3 sets of students per class, especially, let me say, private institutions, like lower learning institution. We have like 3 sets of students per class. You know, this is something very serious. I would like you to tag very many. You can tag as many members of parliament as possible and the opinion leaders in Uganda. You can tag them to this discussion so that we can have something. We can be on the same page. I want you to learn about this and to listen about this very, very carefully. Something about education, our Ugandan education, the future, and what we should expect in regards to whatever is happening and whatever is going to happen. You see? So my main discussion today actually is going to be around that subject matter, education in Uganda, and the future of our children and the future of the nation in regards to what we call forming or educating young people who are supposed to be partakers in tomorrow's Uganda. You get it? So, however much we are affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, however much there is political fights all over, however much there anything happening in Uganda, there is something that is not being talked about, which is much more important than anything ever in the history of that particular country. That is education sector. I saw today Semuju came out, Semuju Ibrahim Ghana, the member of parliament from Chira, I think also the spokesperson of FDC, coming out and saying how Museveni gifted his wife with the ministerial position in a very crucial and very important sector, which needed somebody who are technocrats or technocracy, you know, information about how to run that sector, education sector in Uganda. Right now, we have like 3 sets of students in one class. I really pity, you know, let me tell you one thing. Our education system was already on bed, was already sick, very sick on bed. But COVID-19 now made it go into coma. You know, okay, I can request everybody to kindly tag everybody. You tag anybody. You tag the leader of opposition, tag your members of parliament, tag President Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu, even tag anybody, tag even anybody, even Museveni. You tag anybody whom should, let me say, like anybody who is in Uganda and is in government and is playing a role in as far as running the nation today is concerned, be it in opposition, be it in government. This is something that's cross-cuts. We need to understand this very well. Our education sector was already on bed. It was already sick. Even before COVID-19 pandemic came, the education sector was already sick and was already on bed. So what happens was that when COVID-19 pandemic came, the education sector now went into coma. Actually, the situation worsened from just being bedridden into coma. So now our education sector is in coma, actually. The Uganda's education sector is in coma. And this is something that many people have not been discussing so much about. All people have been talking about in Uganda, opinion leaders have been talking about in Uganda, is to ask Museveni or Janet Museveni to open up schools. But now, how is the recovery? What is the recovery criteria? Or what has been put in place as a recovery criteria for this issue to be addressed? Because now we have a situation whereby there are 3 sets of students in one class. Now, you had there was a time I saw the Minister of Finance, or I had him, he came on news. I don't know whether out of excitement, the boy, that when I say Minister of Finance, I believe you know who I'm talking about. That is Matia Kasaija. Matia Kasaija came out on TV and was excited. I don't know whether out of excitement or out of what. He was saying that private schools which were affected by COVID-19 pandemic should go and sell their properties, to clear their debts. You know how institutions, like private institutions in Uganda, how they operate is that when the semester is beginning, or when a term is beginning, let me say primary schools, private primary schools, when the term is beginning, they go and borrow money from banks. When they borrow money from banks, they use that money to run day-to-day activities of the school. Now, how they clear those loans is that they go and they collect students' school fees from students or from pupils, and that is what they use to repay back the loans. Now, the way the schools were affected, you remember there was a time Museveni opened school, Museveni closed, Museveni opened schools, certain time closed, and all this. So that fracas disorganized the private institution a lot. I was at Parliament of Uganda as the leader of opposition of the 4th National Youth Parliament, which took place on the 17th of this month. Of this month of August. I stated that government of Uganda recently got free printed money. This is not loan. It got money from IMF. You know, most Ugandans think that the loan that Museveni got was on the one. You know, it's not only IMF that give money to Museveni. There are some other organization like World Bank. There is this Exim Bank of China. There are some other governments from other countries. Even United States gives money to General Museveni. So these are things that many people do not know. People think when they make noise about IMF, it's only IMF that gives money to Ugandan government. No, the IMF gives loan, there are also other entities or other institutions, very powerful and established like World Bank, which also give loan to government of Uganda, of course to General Museveni. Recently, IMF gave free printed money. It was not a loan, but it was a free printed money to enable developing countries, which are member states of the IMF International Monetary Fund, get liquidation or get liquidity to ensure that they cope up with the COVID-19 pandemic impact, which has taken place which has affected everybody, of course. So what happened was that General Museveni, government of Uganda, was given around 2 trillion shillings. That money was given for recovery of the sectors, especially struggling sectors within the country. It was free printed money. This is not a loan. 2 trillion shillings, International Monetary Fund gave General Museveni. It was at Bank of Uganda. It has been given to Bank of Uganda, the Mutebiles, they know that. So the money is to help them develop or cope up with the COVID-19 pandemic impact, which could have affected them, and which education sector was amongst them. I stated at Parliament that if I told government of Uganda now was given that free money, why don't they pick on the 1 trillion shillings and give to private schools or private institution or learning institution to cope up or to recover properly from this COVID-19 pandemic, even if as a loan, but at a subsidized level, not the way other foreign established finance institutions that we have in Uganda are doing. So our proposal was, our views at National Youth Parliament, we say that why doesn't government come up and then remove, even if only 1 trillion of that 2 trillion shillings, free money which was given to them, so that they use it to clear, to support the dying private institution. You see, at this scenario here, in this scenario where we've reached, first of all, how will 3 sets of students be in one class? No, like for instance, if I'm to ask you, how will 3 sets of students, like somebody who was in P1 now is supposed to be in P3. Somebody who was in P2 is supposed to be in P3. Somebody who was in P3 has been found in P3 by somebody who was in P1. You know, Just like I started studies 3 years before my sister, but my sister got me in the same class. That is the situation. So if at all government doesn't come out very drastically and very radically to ensure that they help address this issue of the money, this issue of the dying institution or learning private institution in Uganda, or the rotting academic like learning sector, which is happening, which has of course invaded Uganda, I think that will lead to a downfall of the entire, a collapse of our education sector in Uganda. It's very unfortunate that we have the wife of General Museveni there. I don't know what she will do, what our plans are for this thing, but it's upon us, the citizens or the taxpayers, to first of all wake up and begin talking about this matter here. You know, it's for long been outside media. You know, on media nowadays in Uganda, people are talking on media. You go to media, Uganda media, you hear how Chameleon got new car from Toyota. You will not hear Ugandan media like NBA's Daily Monitor or whatever talking about how Ugandan learning institution or our pupils, our children are rotting in jail or at home without any proper education. You will go to Uganda media, you will see them talking about how let me say, like President Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu was blocked from entering US, as if that is something which is they're talking about that, but they're not talking about how these guys have killed our learning institution. You see, I stated that they don't care. These people here in government do not care about you, because what they do, their children fly overseas, like to United States, to Germany, or to Europe to study on taxpayers' money. They pay their children using taxpayers' money to study abroad. And abroad there, people are studying. Abroad, people are studying. People are getting educated and proper. But your children down there, I'm talking about the Mundu Wawansi, the young person down there, the sons and the daughters of the poor man down there are not going to be educated, and their future are going to remain in the dark. And the more the education sector has been killed, the more we are giving Museveni mileage to rule for the rest of his lifetime with his family. Even right now, as we talk, you find that the petroleum thing that has been taking place in Uganda, you've been seeing how the petroleum things and all those stuff that has been taking. These guys here, when they realized that oil was in Uganda, or after the oil exploration, they sent a lot of their children, their relatives, these Banyarwandas, these Banyankoles, they took them they took them abroad to study oil. Now you will find tomorrow the son of the Umuntu Wawansi. You know what annoys me most? Me, I come from northern Uganda, but I'm talking on behalf of the entire Ugandans. What annoys me most is that when you go to streets of Kampala, you'll find people protecting the gates, or gatekeepers, or like the bank, these security officers, security guards, these expos, or whatever. Those people are either from, you will never find any Munyankore or any Munyarwanda taking care of those things. You'll find the northerners, some few Bagandas, you'll find easterners, you'll find few, that's what is happening in Uganda. Why? Because the education sector has been kept in the dark, and our children, we are not studying, we are not getting proper education, and even has been made worse. I really thought that it's better we get educated people to run education sector. What I meant that maybe the Minister of Education should have been a professor or a doctor. Maybe they will understand the importance of education or value the purpose of education. The biggest thing in Uganda is that for the rest of the time that Uganda has been in existence, we've been ruled by dwarfs, people who are not educated. Just look at Obote. Obote was not educated man, was not educated, was just, I think, I don't remember. You look at Amin. Amin was not educated, but he was patriotic. You look at General Tito Kelotwa, was not educated, was patriotic, but was somehow patriotic. You look at most of these people who ruled you, even Museveni doesn't have papers. Did you go and check? We've been demanding for these papers all along before elections, but we did it in vain. People play that, and also we have never seen up to now the papers of General Museveni. We've been asking for the papers of his wife. We've never seen, but the wife is the Minister of Education. A Minister of Education who, I don't know whether has a master's or has a PhD in a field of education, but is in charge of the education sector, which is the future of a country. So my concern is about how we should advocate for these education sectors to be revived properly. As government plans to reopen education institution or learning institution. What plans does government have for the private learning institution which are dying, which are collapsing? That is what I want to know. Or that is what we should be asking. Because you see, I'm telling you one thing. Private institutions, very many of them will die. Will never come back after COVID-19 is gone. Very many private institutions in Uganda might never come back after COVID-19 pandemic is gone. I'm assuring you on that. Why? Because they don't have money. They don't have resources. Actually, government frustrated them. Government ruined every plans that they had. The education sector in Uganda initially was bedridden, was already sick, very sick. But now, with COVID-19 and the Musevenis, the education sector has gone into coma. It's now in coma. So you get it? It's now in coma. That's how things have gone now. And that is how worst the scenario is. And if we do not do anything about this, or if as Ugandans, because now it's not about, if we think we shall sit and watch or wait for Museveni's to plan and bring for us something good on table, then you are dreaming. You are dreaming. You are seriously dreaming. The issue is us, it's you, it's me, it's everybody to take up upon themselves the responsibility of making things right, or of advocating for the right things be done. Because even the leaders whom we think we are looking up to are already overwhelmed. There are very many fights. So, in Uganda, just like there was a time Betty Namboze stated that in Uganda, when you're fighting for Ugandans, you should keep one of your hands to fight Ugandans who are fighting you. Because Museveni bribes a section of Ugandans to fight Ugandans who are fighting for something which is right. Just like you see, Kyagulanyi is fighting for something which is something right, but there is a section of inherent wounds, or people who have been bribed by Museveni, first of all, to defect from NUP, and now they are all pointing guns on Kyagulanyi. Even when he has not said anything bad, you hear people talking about him. Even when he has not done... You see, let me tell you one thing. In Uganda, if we do not change our ways of doing things, if we think... And the way Museveni thinks is that money is the solution to everything. He thinks he doesn't have solution to the problem of Uganda, but he has an advantage that he has money. So he uses that money to manipulate the desperate young people who are not informed on what they're supposed to do, who do not understand their worth and their values. So he uses money, he manipulates this one against the other one. He uses money, he manipulates the other one against this one. So in such scenario, the country's future remains in the dark. Because, can you imagine, if we do not educate the young generation, how will we hand over the responsibility to run or govern day-to-day activities of the country to themselves? How will we hand to them the responsibility to run and govern day-to-day activities of the country? Like, seriously, this is something that we should debate about. It's important that education be taken much more serious than anything in the history of that country. If this country is to develop and be something better tomorrow. Because if anything is not done, nowadays I see Muhoozi everywhere. Museveni thinks when he is dying or when he leaves power, Muhoozi will take over. Now, he educated Muhoozi on taxpayers' money, by the way. Muhoozi, I hear people say he's the best sniper. Semenya was educated in Russia. Well, I don't want to talk about Gundi. But all these children were educated on taxpayers' money. Not any other thing, but taxpayers' money. So now, how about us who have not gotten a chance to be educated on taxpayers' money or on state scholarship? How about those young children down there? Where is their future? Your children, our grandchildren, how will they live? Because now, in a scenario whereby, you see, this is the reason why I'm talking about this today, is that tomorrow, even you will understand that I talked about it, and you will appreciate why I talked about it. Why? Because if the young people are not educated and are not given proper packaging of information or learning or thought, morals of life or morals to engage in the community, tomorrow you'll find a lot of young people turning into a criminal gang. In Kampala, you find in Kampala, in Gulu, in Bara, criminal gang, young people, because they have failed in life to educate, the government has failed to take up responsibilities to educate them, young people will turn into criminal gangs who rob, who kill, who shoot, who do anything to ensure that they survive because they would have failed in education. Who would have failed them? It is the Museveni, it is the Janets, it is the government of Uganda, and it is us who have kept quiet, and I'm not talking about this. They are diversionary, they are these propaganda machines in Uganda that we have, like the NBS, like the Daily Monitors, like the Nation Media, like the These people, they do not talk about, they do not publish or talk about things that are important and matters more to Ugandans. They talk about things that Museveni wants to be on media. That's what they talk about. You get it? You see right now, let me tell you, previously, this summer, anyway, you should tag everybody, every new member of parliament to this issue here, even President Robert Kyagulanyi, in this very important thing that I'm going to say. Previously, when the Masaka Machete men started slaughtering people, you remember? When the Masaka Machete men started slaughtering people, you remember what happened? Very many people, after very many people were killed, the way government intervened, or the way the Musevenis and the Salim Saleh, by the way, still, before I even go into that, Museveni and Salim Saleh and his armies and the top government officials are very well aware, and they know the people who are doing whatever that is being done in Masaka. You remember towards elections, what happened was when the government was on pressure and Museveni was on pressure that Kyagulanyi was overthrowing him, was kicking him out of the race. Museveni had to hire even soldiers from Angola. You remember the squad of soldiers that went and arrested those of Nubian Lee and the campaign team of Robert Kyagulanyi sent them from Kasese, Kalangala. Those guys were hired from Angola. Now, if at the peak of election, when government is on pressure, government goes as far as even hiring soldiers from Angola. Government even went and borrowed soldiers from Sudan. He borrowed soldiers from Somalia to come and help Museveni, keep Museveni in power, one man in power. Now, massacre killing is happening. Over 30 people are slaughtered with the machete, and government with all the ammunitions, tankers, bombs, missiles. What if a full battalion of UPDF goes and assemble in massacre? If at all the killing is genuine, if you don't think this killing will stop? Now, when Museveni realized, when Museveni, because of diversion, came out with, stated that, it is the Segrinyas and Alan Sewanyanas who are killing people, who are sponsoring the killings in Masaka, who are facilitating the killing in Masaka. They penalize those young boys, or those young leaders, or those gentlemen for some times. But when they saw the society was not believing in what they stated, of course, the society couldn't believe and did not believe in what the government was saying, that it is the Alan Sewanyanas or it is the Segrinyas who are NUP elected members of parliament, and where Masaka, where NUP got majority of support and the biggest vote in Uganda, is now the NUP has stand to kill its people who supported it most. So when they saw things were not working out and the society was not believing in them, now they went for this innocent Colonel Kaka, former issue director. Kaka, I don't think whether he even knows what is happening there. That Kaka is the one. When they saw that the society was not believing in them, when they stated that Alan Sewanyan and Segrinya were the one killing, they later went to Kaka, former issue director, who I think was appointed as ambassador to Angola or to where, I don't know, something like that. You don't know, how the Museveni does their things, does these things. So they saw the society was not believing in them when they stated that it is Segrinya and Alan Sewanyana, Honorable Segrinya, Honorable Alan Sewanyana, who are facilitating them killing in Masaka. When they saw the society was not believing in them, they had to go and now begin pinning and framing Kano Kaka, that Kano Kaka is the one who, facilitating all behind the killings in Masaka, and they want societies to believe that. Me still, I say that I don't think and I do not believe when they say it's Kano Kaka facilitating the killings in Masaka. Alan will not believe that. Kano Kaka cannot facilitate killings in Masaka. What would you be wanting there? Okay, now let's say, just like you saw in previously, General Museveni came out and said, General Gute, I don't know where General Gute got all that, the money to buy those lands from. General Gute put his farm in Karamoja. In Karamoja, where citizens are being slaughtered almost every day. Citizens of Uganda are being slaughtered in Karamoja almost every day. You get my point? So my point is very simple. These people are saying that it's if they say that it's this man here, it's Segrinya and Alan Sewanyana facilitating the killing in Masaka. Okan Okaka is the one facilitating the killings in Masaka. How about the killings in Karamoja? Who is facilitating the killings in Karamoja? The people are being slaughtered, all the people are dying. We would like to know that. No, leaving that aside even, there is also this scenario whereby they say that the issue of Milo land. The Milo land is a problem of lands in Uganda, all land issues in Uganda. Yet, according to what I know is that, and what I've researched is that the problem is administration, poor administration, governing bodies in the land sector. Why is it that there is already land crisis in northern Uganda? In a Choli sub-region in northern Uganda, in Amoro district, where this member of parliament, Akol, comes from, you find there are over 25,000 people who are being evicted of their lands. Right now, as I speak, I don't know where they're supposed to go, but government is evicting them from there. We talk about climate change. When we talk about climate change, it is Museveni who gave Bugoma Forest recently. This forest in Bunyoro land, he gave it to investor, a forest to be demolished for investor to plant sugarcane. That is what is happening in Uganda. You say you are advocating for climate change, you are giving a forest, a natural forest. You are giving a natural forest to foreigners, not even Ugandans, to foreigners, to plant sugarcane in Uganda. As if Ugandans are, we did agriculture. Me, I studied agriculture. Very many people did agriculture. We can even do agricultural investment in Uganda better than even these foreign investors who come to Uganda. You give Ugandan land. You give a forest to foreigners to plant sugarcane, to destroy a future asset, a reserve asset, an asset of a country. You see, when they went the other side, in Mabera right now, if you have to go to Mabera is only at the roadside. Inside Mabera, they've constructed schools. People are doing farm. There was a school. When I was going, there was a time I was moving with the civil society organization were taking me to Tanzania in Arusha for the East African Youth Legislative Assembly, the Vijana Assembly for the young people in Arusha in Tanzania. We stopped somewhere in Mabera, around Mabera, that part of Mabera. We saw a secondary school in the heart of Mabera. A secondary school, a private school has been constructed in Mabera Forest. Do you get what I'm talking about? We are talking about protecting environment. People like Beatrice Anywa yesterday comes out penalizing Rwanda. Waste or rubbish from Rwanda is the contaminating Ugandan thing. But now you find the same Mabera who was advocating for Mabera the other time is now the one diverting people. Yet right now we have Museveni giving government land to foreigners to do agriculture, to do sugarcane plantation in Uganda. Museveni gave Mabera forest for people to plant, to construct schools. Now, what is between constructing school, planting sugarcane, and keeping forests alive or preserving the environment? Which one is more important and which one is more sustainable for the future of a country? So for you, when you want to die with everything. You don't want to leave anything for people to remain, to enjoy. You think the day you die, the world should end for everybody. That is what you want? And this is something that we've been talking about all along. And this is why I still tell you it is very important that we open up our eyes in as far as issues of addressing challenges in education sector is concerned. Otherwise, you will hear a scenario whereby they will say some pupils are supposed to stay at home as others study because the schools, capacity of the school will not manage to contain them. In a scenario whereby you hear there is also a problem of you find a scenario whereby private schools right now are risking being closed. There was a time I checked on Daily Monitor published that over 600 private schools are on sale because they are owing banks money. their data to some financial institutions in Uganda. So these banks have gone as far as hijacking these schools and selling them because the owners of the schools hold them and have failed to clear their debts. This is how far things have gone. So our children, when they're resuming school, they'll find some school not in existence. Do you get what I'm meaning? They'll find their schools are not in existence because the bank would have confiscated those schools and sold them to some other person. So we find no new rules, new regulations, new everything. And now you see a scenario whereby they're saying that all private schools should register afresh. Let me ask you, tell me, in Uganda, you tell me, any politician in Uganda, is there any son of any politician in Uganda who is in a UPE, Universal Primary Education, or is in a primary schools? Or universal secondary schools? Most of these politicians in Uganda, most of these business elite in Uganda, all these soldiers in Uganda, all these top family officials, top family government guys in Uganda, their children are either abroad or studying in the most expensive schools in Uganda. So the children of Umuntu Awansi, who has been so much wanting even change in the country more than in any passion, they are suffering and are going to suffer even much more, especially with these reopenings of the schools, which has not been planned for, which looks very disorganized. So very many children are going to suffer, and very many people are going to lose out, and very many futures are going to be ruined because of failure to understand the importance and value the education sector. Education is everything to Uganda. It's everything to a country. You cannot tell me that you are building for a future, or you are building a country, or you love, or you are patriotic when you are killing the education sector. You cannot tell me. So the issue is universal primary education, universal secondary education is for the children of the poor. By the way, this issue of the UPE, universal primary education, universal secondary education, was an idea of Paul Semogere Kamwanga in 1996 when he was campaigning for presidency with the General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. His idea was very different. Paul Semogere Kamwanga stated that in his campaigns, he said that I will open a school, I will open government schools, and each family we shall educate at least 3 students, 2 pupils per family in Uganda. We shall educate them, give them free education for 3 pupils per family in Uganda. That was the campaign strategy of Paul Kamwanga Semogere. Museveni, when he came, Museveni stated that in his campaign, Museveni said, I will give everybody free education, everybody free education. For him, he wanted to see numbers. He wanted to play a game of numbers. But Paul Semogere Kamwanga was playing a game of quality and content. That is where they differed, and that's where there is a difference between them. Still in this same regards, I think it's high time leaders, opinion leaders, both in opposition, both in government, let me say opinion leaders, political analysts, those advocates, even political parties, opposition political parties in Uganda, we should begin tabling sober and very clear forward options to government on how we can address jointly the challenge of this education sector before the schools are reopened. This is not only about us advocating and also, but it's about everybody in Uganda playing their roles to ensure that the future of the country remains bright by saving and giving a proper reopening of schools where other sectors of the institution or private institution will not be much affected. This is what I'm trying to talk about, and this is what I want you to understand. That if you are telling you are a member of parliament, this is everybody's responsibility. It's not on the responsibility of us advocating for it. Or we shouldn't leave this to the Musevenis or to Janet Museveni, thinking that he will understand how the child of Umuntu Awansi is suffering, or how the future of the child of Umuntu Awansi is going to be stolen by not educating them. Or how if young people fail to be educated, they will turn into, in the near future, they will turn into criminal gangs and will begin looting, killings in Kampala, in Ugulu, in every major cities to survive. Not that because they want, but because their future was stolen and their future was not catered for. And that is what they will resort to. So the issue is very, very important. It's very, very vital that when we're talking about education, we look at it from a very broader perspective. We should put aside our political differences, be it when you're in Democratic Party, you're in National Unity Platform, you're in the Forum for Democratic Change, you are in the Alliance for National Transformation, you are in what? You are in all those political parties. We should bring our aids together and draft a proper mechanism for reopening schools and give opinion to government or to the people so-called aiding the institution through parliament, members of parliament. We should play a role in this, because if we do not take any action about this, I am telling you today, you will remember what I've stated today, that these people do not care about us. They don't care about the future of this country. There are some people in Uganda who think if they are not the one, then nobody should be. You know, if they are not the one, then nobody should be. That is very, very risky for the future of the country. The issue is, if you want to build a future for a country, ensure that education sector is really much more taken care of and proper, and it's really not joked with or tampered with. Just like whoever is going to take over leadership from Museveni, or when we kick out the junta at the end of the point, we must ensure that there are some sectors which we shouldn't use to reward our relatives and wives, whoever, close relatives or close people, as a gift. We should put sober people there to ensure that things are really taken care of well. This is a matter of future and life for an entire country. It's not just for a small group of people, but it's a future of a country, man. So when we are talking and when we are trying to bring options on table, because like right now, I need to tell you one thing. As I stated initially, our education sector has now left from being bedridden. From first of all, before COVID-19, education sector was already sick, was very, very sick. Now it has gone into coma with this COVID-19, and to make matters worse, with the Museveni's running the affairs of the country, education sector has gone into coma. So that is how worst scenario is, and that is why I still say for this sector to resurrect and to become sober. But let me tell you one thing, for Uganda to cope up with education after COVID-19 pandemic, it's going to take years. For universities, right, they might cope up, like Makerere will cope up very fast, these public universities, because these courses are just cooked, or are just cooked, you know. They can cope up within a period of 1-2 years, they will be running normally. But lower learning institution, either some section of pupils will be left to first stay at home, as others get dedicated to ensure that space are left for them. Or many more private schools or many more schools have to be created to ensure that it can accommodate the people, the children we have. Oh, just know there should be something, some better ideas, some better option that we should have on table in regards to saving and liberating the future of education in our country as Uganda. This is a homework and a home package for everyone. I believe and I pray so hard that whoever comes across this live stream should have shared and should share, so that people get a broad spectrum of understanding, of analyzing the situation, so that we come up with a substantial and a comprehensive mechanism on how we can engage as stakeholders of a country like Uganda, as taxpayers, on how what we should do and what should be done by government, and what role should be played by stakeholders, opinion leaders, elites, political parties, and all other individuals within the country. Because this is not about one person. This is not about NRM. This is not about Museveni. This is not about Janet Museveni. This is not about NUP. This is not about FDC. This is not about DP. This is not about ANT. But this is about the future and life of a country. The future of a country. This is what we are talking about. Okay? So I request you, one, to share this everywhere. Two, you need to begin thinking about that. And if at all you could tweet, you should be tweeting about this. You should be posting on your Facebooks, on your WhatsApp statuses, on your about this, such that people begin talking about it. Because now the issue is we go and just beep talking about education. We talk, then we jump. We talk, then we jump. The issue is, let's have a constant and a marathon talk about education sector, such that we have, We should not talk about it today, we forget about it tomorrow, the other day we remember. No, we should talk about it constantly. It should be the one actually dominating media houses in Uganda. But now in Uganda, you hear people talking about stupid things only on media. How Chameleon got a car from Toyota. Is that going to impact anything in the future of anybody in Uganda? That is about the future of Chameleon and his car. Is it the first time that is going to be? Is that the most expensive car in the world? No. Who is doing what? This propaganda thing is not going to help us. You know, I still say education is the key to success. Any generation that has been denied education has been denied a future. Education is a right. Education is a basic need, is an essential, is a necessity. Everybody deserves to be educated better. You get my point? Everybody deserves to be educated, based on the fact that he or she is a citizen of Uganda. If these people have plans to destroy our future or to ruin our future, we're not going to give a damn. We're not going to give a shit about this. We're going to take actions, serious actions. So what I should say is that let's begin advocating for, one, government to come out clearly to tell us how it will liberate the education sector. Two, there were 2 trillion free money which was given to government, to Museveni, to Mutewire, just recently by the International Monetary Fund, in August. In August, by the International Monetary Fund. The 2 trillion shillings, they should pick 1 trillion shillings to liberate the private learning institution so that they recover and begin educating people tomorrow when COVID-19 is gone. Okay? This is what I wanted to share with you. I always come live to talk about things that I feel pinch about. Issues of massacre, I still say government, Museveni, Salim Saleh, and his clique, these top government officials know who the people who are killing people, they're killing the citizens of Uganda in massacre. It's not Segrinya. Segrinya, who has even never caught on a gun, who doesn't even know how a gun looks like. I don't know whether Segrinya has ever caught on a gun. Alan Sewanyana. It's not them. The issue is when they arrested Alan Segrinya and Sewanyana, Alan Sewanyana and Segrinya, and saw that the society was not believing them when they said that those were the people facilitating killings in massacre. Now they've started framing Colonel Kaka, former director of ISU. You know, they are just there, yet they know the real people who are behind that. Just like when the Katuma Wamala's daughter, when the attack on Katuma Wamala happened, Museveni came out and stated that those people were killed by pigs. He stated that, first of all, he stated it was the shooting or the attack happened were done by the idiots. Later he came, it was not the idiots, it was the pigs. Later he changed to what? I saw General Rokech, the late General Rokech coming. These were the people getting the people. Now, we need to, you know, Uganda should be run as a country, not as a family thing. You get it? So, what comes out of our mouth sometimes should be controlled. We should know what we bring out. Now, so anyway, that is briefly what I wanted to share with you, and I believe it was a productive discussion and a productive sharing. And I think, and I hope, this can enlighten you or can throw more light onto what you've been having and what so far you've gotten out of this discussion. And I believe you can be in position or share with any other person out there, so that we have a joint voice about this, so that we can do something about this, so that we can move forward as a country, not as an individual. In this regards, I'm talking about the Omuntu Wansi, how the child of a common man, of a poor person down there in the grassroots, who goes to universal primary schools, who goes to universal secondary education schools, how they will survive, how they will cope up with education. And the private institutions which are struggling, learning institutions like primary schools which are private, nursery schools which are private, and secondary schools which are private. We want a uniform distribution or allocation of resources and assets to them, so that they can also cope up and future be bright for everybody, because the government institutions that we have in Uganda cannot contain the population of Uganda. It's very small. The private sector or the private learning institution play a big role in regards to the running of education sector in Uganda. So they become a priority to me, or a very important issue that we should discuss about. You know, it's not about that it's only this government institution that we should be looking at. We should look about the private schools, because they've helped mentor and they've helped mentor and educate very many people. I, for one, I studied all my life in a private school. I studied all my life in private school, starting from primary, starting from nursery actually, primary, secondary I was in a seminary, in Lacho Seminary in Gulu, that was government school, private school, Catholic owned. So private schools play a lot of role, or a very significant role, in as far as running or mentoring or building the education sector in Uganda is concerned. They should be our topic of discussion as well. We shouldn't be talking about government schools. No, let's also talk about the private schools. What is their fate in reopenings of schools after COVID-19 is gone? If their fate their future is darkened, as I saw the time Daily Monitor wrote that over 600 schools are now on sale. Private schools are now on sale because the owners of those schools borrowed money from banks and failed to clear those loans, those money. So we should be talking about it. How can we save them? Say that tomorrow our children can get educated again. Because if all sake of private schools are closed in Uganda, that means that will lead to a collapse of the entire education sector. Actually, private schools offer better better and quality education in Uganda than the public institutions, especially at the lower or at higher schools or lower learning institutions, apart from the universities. Private schools play a bigger role than that. In northern Uganda, actually, all government schools have died almost. We had Sir Samuel Becker, which was very sounding. We had schools like Gulu High, which was very sounding. Those are government schools. We had schools like Kidumai. You know, we had schools like YY Okot Memorial College. They're all dead now. The rocking schools there, you go and find Ochie Campion in Gulu, which is for Jesuit, the Jesuit Society. You go and find schools like what? You go and find Kidum Comprehensive College, where when I started my senior 6, you go and find, So those are the schools, the rocking schools in northern Uganda now are private schools, not in as far as academic results is concerned, or academic delivery, or the quality of students they bring out is concerned. Public schools are doing a lot of merits. You find a big schools, a big school like Sir Samuel Becker cannot even get one first grade. In Pade, you find Archbishop Flynn, which is a private school, getting very many first graders. Archbishop Flynn secondary schools. You find, private schools are doing better in as far as service delivery and mentoring of the citizens of Uganda is concerned in education sector. So they become a matter of discussion, and their future is our concern. Bye-bye for now.